Thanks for joining us. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Marquette Township Board. Today is May 19th, Wednesday, 2025, and it's 5:30, and we're going to start with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pull that off. It's May 21st. I don't know how that 19th got in there.
May 21st. Oh, that's my packet in here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is the 21st.
Yeah, so I don't know how it
When
ended
you
up, but
revised it,
maybe that's what happened.
somehow got you.
Oh, it's revised as of the 19th,
There you
but
go.
Wednesday the
It says
21st.
Wednesday underneath.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you know what you're doing.
So it's the 21st, the meeting of the 21st, not the 19th.
Correct. Okay, you want to start with the roll call?
Okay, trustee Winslow,
Present.
trustee Kidda,
Here.
trustee Leighton,
Here.
trustee Everson,
Here.
treasurer Rickauer,
Here.
clerk Rattari is here, and supervisor Durant.
Here.
Staff present is Manager Kangas, our attorney Roger Zappa, our fire chief Dan Shanahan, and I don't see anyone else here at the moment. Our committee members present are from the library, Paul Moran and Laurel Niskern.
Perfect, excellent. Let's start with public comment. If anybody wants to, you've got a separate presentation, so you don't have to worry about it now. But I'm guessing no emails from anybody either? Okay, let's get into the consent agenda tonight, which consists of approval of regular meeting minutes of May 7th, 2025. We have bills payable in the amount of $190,397.43. The April 2025 Sheriff's Department activity report is in there. And sort of a sad letter, and we didn't even get a chance to talk about it, the dissolution of Northern Michigan Public Service Academy. We've used that quite a bit as a township over the years. And an abbreviated packet of the Solid Waste Authority, I'll tell you about that meeting later. And the April 2025 financial statements.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Those we need,
I'll also make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Support.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, let's start with the library report. One or both of you can tag team if you want.
Hi, Paul Moran, Township Advisory Committee, and no, we're not going to speak twice and take twice as long.
Okay.
Every library board meeting starts off with a presentation, usually by one of the committee heads in the library. And this time it was the auditor. It was Catherine Pelton from Anderson Tackman Company who had completed the audit of the library for the fiscal year ended of September 30, 2024. And she was very pleased to say that the auditors had an unqualified opinion. I had to scratch my head because if you were hiring somebody and it said, this one's unqualified and this one's qualified, but unqualified for an accountant is higher than qualified. So we got an unqualified opinion. Then the main items that were talked about, board action items, had to do with projects that might be funded out of the general trust fund. They got a bid for sealing and striping the parking lot from Jet Black, who apparently is the only company around here who really does that. And they'd like to go ahead with that. But they also want to do some cement work. And the bid they got for that was way too high for the library's taste. But I don't know if you remember when you park in the parking lot going to the library, there's a sidewalk going down the center. And when the library was built, the plans were to have these lovely plants and trees and everything on the side of that sidewalk. Well, you know, a winter or two of salt from the parking lot pretty much did in the plants. And so then the library put in pea gravel on both sides of that sidewalk. You remember that it's there. Well, the pea gravel is not the ideal solution because those little pieces of gravel can be like ball bearings when people are walking down the sidewalk, which can be a hazard. There's a new member of the library board who's an attorney. She pointed that out. And the other thing is the guy who does the snow blowing said he would never snow blow the sidewalk when there were cars in the parking lot, because he'd be shooting that pea gravel out at the cars that were parked there. So the thought from the library is to just cement the whole thing and not worry about plantings or pea gravel. But they're gonna have to find some better bid before they can do that work. The other thing, there are some benches in front of the library, and those benches were lovely when they were built, but they are getting bedraggled. There's some boards missing, and fortunately the library's custodial team said, we think we can repair those, so you won't have to pay any labor, you just have to buy the materials. And as you know, the library is considered itself a purist. They had to do the limestone steps instead of the concrete steps in front of the library. But they are now actually considering maybe using Trex on those benches so that they are safer and last longer than redoing them in wood. And so those were the main items discussed under the board action item. The strategic plan is ongoing, and they should come up with some answers to that in the relatively near future. And so Laurel or I will talk to you about that. Laurel and I talked, I think you'll see her on June the 18th for the next library report meeting, because the next library board is June the 17th.
Okay.
So, anyway, any questions?
Any questions for Paul? Okay.
All right, thank
Thanks.
you.
Appreciate it. Okay, Miss Bethany, joining us from Highline. As you might have known, there are trucks and cables and everything else around the township and the county.
We are everywhere.
So we thought we'd introduce her and let everybody know what's going to happen.
Yep, that's right. So you've probably seen us around. We are a rural internet service provider, and we are here because we won a $188 million federal grant called the RDOF grant, and that allows us to build a fiber network in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We have a little build area in the Thumb as well, and this is something that's actually happening nationwide. There are a lot of other companies out there that receive this federal funding. Highline is proud to say that we are fulfilling the federal funding, and we are passing 50,000 homes by 2027, and we are halfway there. We are one of the few companies that are figuring it out. If you follow the RDOF fund and some of the other businesses out there, a lot of them are having trouble figuring out how to build fiber internet to rural homes, but we have definitely figured it out. We're past 20,000 homes. Right now, in 2025, we'll pass another 14,000 homes, well on our way to that final 50,000 home passing that we need to fulfill. We also won the Robin Grant recently, so that will allow us to pass another 3,000 homes with that. And we just applied for the BEAD grant, which will also allow us to pass more homes if we are awarded that grant. And again, this is rural residents that we're serving with gig speed internet. So when I say gig speed internet, I mean speeds that are like living in Chicago type of speeds. You can get rid of your satellite dish on the top of your home. People can stream seamlessly. It will improve quality of life because they can access telehealth. You can work from home now with Highline connection. Kids can school from home. And that's really why this federal funding was put out there, because of the COVID pandemic that happened. And I think the federal government realized that we are a very unconnected nation when it comes to our rural communities versus our urban communities. So that's really Highline's mission, is to end that digital divide between urban and rural. And I'm living testament for that, because I have lived rurally my whole life and always struggled with connectivity issues. So I'm very proud to work for this company and be part of the change that we are supplying to rural residents, and creating entrepreneurs out there that didn't have opportunities before. So again, we are gig speed fiber internet. I'll give you some of our pricing and things so that you guys know if residents ask you. I'll also leave some brochures at the front. We are a no contract service. We are no taxes, no fees. We actually, our service offerings are speed-based versus data-based, which is a really big shift because typically satellite services and things, they offer data, like data caps, and they say you get so many megs a month of data. We don't do that. We let you use as much data as you want, and you can connect with as many devices as you want on a Highline connection. What we really pride ourselves on is our speed. And that's why you'll hear terms like gig up, gig down speeds. That is the technology that we use as glass, and it transmits data on gig speed capabilities. And over time, we'll be able to up those speeds as technology increases and demands get higher. Bless you. We will be able to continuously serve residents with higher speeds the more demand that comes along. So this is actually a fix to the internet problem. This isn't a Band-Aid. This is a fix. And this is something that was only ever offered to hospitals. I'm sure you know that hospitals have fiber, and schools, a lot of schools and libraries and things. Anchor institutions have fiber. Well, with the federal funding, we are lucky now for rural residents to have fiber. Our pricing is $111 a month. We do charge a $200 installation fee, which actually we will waive. I know Lynn and I were just chatting about me coming out again when we get closer to becoming active and doing a presentation for the public specifically. So during that time, we'll offer a waived installation charge. We do offer a VoIP phone service as well, which is, it's run over the fiber lines. It runs just like a landline does. So any residents out there that are used to having landlines, it's $24 a month. It's a lot cheaper than the AT&T connection that they're used to. They can port their number over. Super simple. We have very, very dedicated installation crews that make sure that all of the residents understand how to use their equipment. All the equipment is included in our monthly price, and we make sure that everything in the home is connected before we leave. Printers, computers, televisions, everything. Our satisfaction is like 98.9% so far for satisfied customers, which is pretty astounding for an ISP. In Marquette Township, we will serve approximately 727 rural homes. So I was just chatting with Lynn before this. If residents are currently a Spectrum customer, there's chances that we either will or will not serve them. Primarily, we won't serve a Spectrum customer unless our lines, which are heading to a rural customer, go by them. If that's the case, we will say, you know what, we're not going to be like the gas lines and say, no, sorry, you can't have our service even though it runs by your house. We will offer them service if a Spectrum customer happens to be near, where we are running our rural lines. But other than that, we are primarily a underserved, unserved internet service provider. One big thing that we are working on out here, and I don't know if anyone has been in contact with you yet, but if there are a lot of private roads in Marquette Township, we are sending residents on private roads, or We Energy customers, we are sending them a right of entry agreement in the mail that they need to sign, and they need to either tell us yes or no. That's really important. We don't care if it's a yes, we don't care if it's a no, we just need to know. Because if we don't know, we can't run fiber down there. So with private drives, we have to have the consent of everyone on the road in order to run our fiber lines down there. Construction's messy, so we will be constructing all summer long here. We plan to have this area live at the end of October is our plan. So customers will start to become active in this area and be able to use the Highline service at approximately the end of October. If we do make a mess, I apologize. We will clean it up. The brochures have some 888 numbers on there. Other than that, we're just happy to be here. We're happy to be providing the service to rural residents, and I'll be back out when we get a little closer to the activation time to talk with the public, because I know you're probably going to get a lot of questions.
So what do you consider rural for us? Do you have a line around the core of the township?
I actually brought a map, and I'll stick around and you can check out the map afterwards if you'd like. We are still engineering our construction plan because we are very early in the construction process right now, I mean. So as we get further along, I can communicate with you a little bit better on the addresses and roads and things that we're going to cover, but I do have an overall map where you can see kind of a concentration of where the homes are.
Good.
So hopefully that'll help.
Questions for Bethany? Maybe not right now,
Yeah,
till we get
sure.
further into it.
It's a lot of information. It's new. It's a new technology. So I'm happy to always come out if you are getting an influx of people asking questions. Whenever you need me up here, I'm happy to just come pop in and answer questions. I live down in Escanaba, so I'm close.
John?
I just have one question. When
Sure.
Highline first came to town, your CEO mentioned that there would also be consideration at some point in the future to expand into the more
Yep.
urban areas. Is that still part of the plan?
Yes, we have to finish our rural build though first because
Understood.
we
Yep.
have an obligation to that, and we have full forces on that right now. But absolutely, as soon as that is done, we will start looking at opportunity areas other than the rural areas so that people have a choice.
Yep, understood and
Yeah.
appreciated. I
Yeah.
think everyone's looking for choice, obviously,
Yeah, for sure.
especially when it comes to speed.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty limited
Yeah.
in many cases, as you know,
Yeah.
probably better than I do. So just wanted to mention that. I'm sure a lot of our residents, taxpayers are thinking, that's great for the rural areas, let's all move there. Right? We
Well,
don't
there's
need
some
growth
jealousy
just for
happening.
high speed.
Yeah, there is some jealousy because we are faster than cable. We're hands over feet faster than cable. So there is a lot of it's hard though because Spectrum customers are really set too. So
Well, not all of them.
yeah. Well, that's good to hear. I do have a sign also that kind of just it's free. It's a gift from us to you that you can display in your township. You can put it wherever you'd like, but I do have that for you after the meeting's over as well.
I went to a all-day summit at Northern on Friday, and it was outdoor recreation for the most part, kind of geared to the 6 counties in the middle.
Yep.
And one of the main presenters was from Oregon, I believe.
Okay.
And instead of talking about recreation, he started right in on, well, when I got from the airport, he didn't have internet.
Yeah.
2 hours. It
Not
took
used
him-
to it. Yeah.
And it was just, he was just not happy. And he couldn't get a car or couldn't do something, and he had to rent a car, and that took a while. And some of the people in the audience were just like, you know.
This is my daily life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
fortunately, when they talked about the airport, our former representative, state representative, got up and said, you may not be aware of this statistic, that there are 5 airports in the UP, and 4 of them get millions of dollars in funding every year, and ours does not. And then another gentleman that knows something about the airport said that they were doing some work, and probably at the time he was there,
Yeah.
and that they were down because of that. So he just happened to come in, but
Right.
he made a huge deal out of it. He just
Really?
kept talking and
Yeah.
talking about it, and people were getting angry,
Yeah.
like, if you don't like it,
Right.
the people around me are saying, just don't come back, or whatever.
Right.
you know,
Right.
they were
It's okay
angry.
if you don't come back. Right.
So, it's not like
Sure.
the public can control what this happens anyway with internet and
Right.
satellites and all that. And we're just kind of at everybody's mercy, so hopefully,
Yeah.
if he comes back again.
There'll be access.
There'll be
Yeah.
all
Well,
set.
we go right to the home, so we wouldn't offer, at least not as of now, like a cell coverage or anything like that. But so we couldn't help him when he was
Yeah.
out in the
I
road.
was thinking
but-
rural though.
Yeah, absolutely,
Foresight.
absolutely. But you never know. I mean, Highland is always looking at new opportunities.
Mhm.
You never know.
Okay, so we'll have you back
Okay,
when we
sounds
know
great.
more.
When we're
Great.
closer to construction, and we're looking at probably around the end of October. So kind of scary to think that the leaves will be changing again.
Oh,
but-
yeah, let's not talk about that.
Thank you guys very much. I'll
Thanks
stick
a lot.
around, I'll show the map and everything
Okay.
afterwards.
Alrighty, let's switch gears to the fire chief, if we may.
Well, good evening, everybody. Not too Much, nothing, call volume wise, nothing too out of the ordinary last month. I know I talked briefly about training with our neighbors, and we did get a chance to do that recently up on 550. We ended up using Wetmore's Trailhead parking lot as our site, and we were hitting the water supply at Sugarloaf and County Road 550. It was more of a tanker, a relay pumping exercise, because I know in the past we've talked about, and I think there's a planning commissioner member too that lives up that way, was concerned about water. And with this new system that we're using, they've been using it downstate for many years. And we had 5 tankers, and we did run out of water for a minute and a half or something like that, but we did get stopped by the train on our very first, coming back down 550, the train stopped us. But the exercise went really well. We had Powell Township there, Chocolate Township, Negaunee Township, and Negaunee City. And if we needed more, we could always ask for help. We just wanted to get that one training exercise in this year to make sure what we were thinking would work, and it did. And Dan might be a little more familiar. We were using our deck gun and 2 hand lines at the same time. That's a lot of water, which we would never use on a structure fire at the same time. So we were trying to just get the tankers moving and to see if we could keep up, with the tankers going back and forth, and it worked out well. So.
What size hand lines were?
Inch and 3/4.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the deck gun, which we'd never used at the same time, but we didn't want the tankers stacked up. Because we all got pays, we stacked pays, we had an exercise, through Central, and but we didn't want them all stacked up to begin with, so let's just burn through some water to begin with. And then we kept burning it up just to keep them moving too, so worked out pretty well.
Good.
Yeah. Call volume is roughly the same as last year. We're just a little bit ahead. Membership is still holding steady. I put meetings, I don't know, I usually put like 4 or 5 meetings down a month, but one came to mind just today. We had a meeting with the DNR because of last year's wildfire season in October. And then a particular resident that we spoke with up on Partridge Bay Trail has some property or businesses out in LA, and they were barely spared, so he was a little uneasy about the fires because of Sugarloaf last fall and what he could do. So we did meet with the DNR out there and talked with a few residents on what they could do. They're doing an excellent job out there. Very beneficial meeting for us and for him. He was there for them, and they were very happy. But I list down the meetings we probably do every month or every other month, but there are those other ones in there also. And what else? All of our apparatus currently in pretty good condition. Sort of sorry to say, and it was sad to see it go. I think a few of us filmed it. Old 2177 is gone. It was sold at the auction, and they came and picked it up, I don't know, about a week and a half ago. Sad day for some of us.
Where did it go, Dan?
Unfortunately, I hate to even say it went to a broker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if somebody can use it, or even parts, I don't know.
Right, and he will lease it out too, and which we've done over the years also. Your truck goes down, and you need to have a truck. What do you do? Well, you can now. This guy's you're gonna lease them, and we did rent one from Pierce. It was quite a few years ago, but you just get a truck that you need to have a truck, so.
So this is probably downstate, right? So if somebody, where's it gonna go, do you know? If somebody needs it up here?
He would lease it to anybody, and that's where we went. When we rented ours or leased ours many years ago, we had to go down to Appleton to pick it up. And we leased it while they were doing repairs on our previous truck. And then you're always happy to get your truck back. I'll tell you, the equipment they rent is, not like a new car or anything. Not too much else. I guess I just want to mention, I know I did briefly last month too. Marquette County Board approved that fit tester that we did purchase, and I'm going to be reimbursed, I think, shortly. But, and we've been using it quite a bit, and even ARF came out, and we hadn't seen them in a little bit. Airport firefighters came out and were fit tested also. But no, that was a nice surprise to get, because we were sort of planning on purchasing and then having to just bill a little bit higher to get reimbursed, but this way the county purchased it, and we're just gonna make it flat fee, you know, so everybody pays the same amount, and we can replace it in 10, 12 years. So worked out real well. And it was needed, so timing was perfect.
The good
We
thing
lucked
Bill
out.
needed to borrow it or use it.
Pardon me?
Good thing that Bill needed to borrow
It
it.
is, that, I know, I brought that up last month, it was, I mean, he happened to be in the day, Vice Chair Nordine was in to get fit tested, and we couldn't get it to work. We couldn't, he waited a half hour, and he goes, well, I gotta go, I have a meeting. Well, it was a board meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he goes straight to the board meeting, and he called back and he said, well, can you give me a quote on that? How much did one of those cost? So we already had the numbers, we've been looking at them for a while, and at the board meeting, he made a motion to county to buy one.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know, timing couldn't have worked out, and then we had it within 4 days, so worked out great.
And then he gave the township kudos, you guys got.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
patted
I
you
mean,
guys
the
on
guys,
the
everybody
back.
does a good job with that, they do. The guys, you know, they take care of it, and we manage it, if you will, you know, to take care of it.
I was glad to be in the audience too. Maybe-
Yeah, good, yeah, no, the guys do a good job, they do.
Any questions for
Any
Dan?
questions, anything?
John?
Don't mean to be talking so much tonight, but Dan said something that should have made all of your ears bend forward. They did a training exercise that got delayed where they ran out of water for a minute and a half because
Train.
a truck got
Train.
caught waiting for a train. There's got to be a plan for resolving that long term. The easiest solution is to run that public water up 550 to the north side of the tracks.
Well, to get
You
out
know,
of
I'm
there.
with you on that.
I think the city would love it too. What we need to
Yeah.
do is find somebody that has deep enough pockets to help with this
Yeah.
potential crisis we have on our hands. I mean, we've been looking for a water solution up that way
Yeah.
for longer than I've been
As long as
around.
I've been on the board.
I know,
it's
we've
tough.
talked about
Coming
it
up
for many
empty
years.
to the point where they're shuttling trucks and they have to summon more trucks when they need more water. They can do it, but if the train is blocking the highway, then what do you do? So that's what we need to be thinking about for addressing any fire concerns. Let's call it north of Phil's 550, basically.
Right. And you know, the fire department's all for that, we like hydrants.
Well, we still own property out on the lake, right? 2 acres?
Yeah,
On
we
the 11
do,
point?
we do. And I saw where the county, because we've looked over the years, and I just recently had a call, the county owns a little piece of property, I don't know if everybody's aware, on 550 there too. Just as you're, the passing lane, as you're going north, on the right-hand side, it's wetlands, so just, you know.
Well, it's a water
It's
source.
signed as much.
Yeah.
Get buckets.
I know, well, we're
Buckets
thinking
in
of
the
putting a
swamp.
well or something, you know, if we needed to up that way, but,
Well, let's talk to Bill.
there you go, yeah.
He can have free fit testing for the rest of his career.
There you go, yeah.
So you never know, though, there may be many people along 550 that would want to tap into water. And it might be an option for the
Yeah,
future.
I don't know, yeah,
You know, at some point, their wells are maybe not going to be as efficient as they are today, or maybe they're not efficient.
right.
So I guess if you don't ask, you get nowhere.
Very, very
I think
true.
the challenge is that 2 miles of basically nothing, or whatever that distance is from
Yeah.
Tourist Park to the railroad tracks, that you're going to need outside assistance to fund because you can't special assess that to a residential customer. It just, it would be astronomical. So there's the challenge.
Yeah.
And right now, I know the township can't go to the state for funding because every time we file a notice of intent to apply, our score gets lower on the list.
Right.
We keep going backwards. The funding mechanisms are not designed to benefit communities like the township. The city might have a little bit more luck, but it's not necessarily in their best interest to provide water to township customers either, other than once we become an owner. But the density up there isn't enough to justify the cost of that that big gap from Tourist Park to the railroad tracks because there really aren't any customers in between.
Today,
So,
today.
it, understood, but the point is, somebody's gotta come up with a chunk of money that requires probably an appropriation at the state or federal level, and I think those are probably going to be few and far between for a while.
For a while. You just keep your ears open. Anything else for Dan?
We are meeting with Carl Bonac, right?
Yeah,
So
we are.
add it to the
Might as well
list.
add it to the list.
Everybody have a good weekend.
You too, thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Public Works, do we have Lenny? No, he put his report in, I put it on your desk, or Randy did.
He emailed it
Yeah,
out,
he
so.
emailed it to us, printed mine. Okay. We had our first drop off, it was busy, I was up there with my glass. Okay, we will skip that part. Planning, we don't have Jason. Linda, can you add
We
anything?
didn't have a meeting.
That's right, that's why he's not
Mhm.
here.
Well, that could be. We did attend a conference at Northern, and that was beneficial. Most everyone came. Yeah, so that's probably it.
Did you, before I forget, did you happen to bring your notes from the
I did.
MTA
I did
conference?
not.
Okay.
I didn't see my name on here.
No, that's okay. I
Yeah.
just thought maybe, either during board whatever
Yeah.
comment, maybe next meeting, we
Maybe.
can catch up.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Well, the attorney, do you have anything?
Well, for better or worse, I've got plenty.
Put your microphone on, Roger, down there.
And much of it you're already aware of, so I'll be fairly brief. Spent a fair amount of time with the Renovari contract, which I have heard nothing further on in the meantime, but then we had a couple of questions on non-conforming billboard usage from the zoning administrator, and I think we've got his answers that he needed to address with that. Had a question on a request for funding a project located outside of township boundaries. And basically, the short answer was, unless we have an ownership interest, we can do joint recreation facilities and so forth, but this is not what was being proposed. And of course, we amended the animal control ordinance. I also prepared the notice of posting for that because it has to be published, of course, before you can consider that for its second reading. We've had a couple, at least two property maintenance questions that the township planner has been keeping me updated on periodically. And I received a copy of some documents that were filed in our pending litigation with the Open Meetings Act claim that's still just hanging there, basically. And as you'll recall, that's not me handling that, that's covered by your Michigan Municipal Risk Management Association insurance coverage. I also reviewed the Raftellus proposal from the Department of Public Works. And we had a couple of other kind of internal issues that arose, and then we had a couple of FOIA questions just recently that I assisted with, and I'm probably overlooking something, but that's the majority, at least, of what crossed my desk since last month.
Any questions for Roger? Okay, good. Community linkage then. We have a few things to share. Been busy. We had a joint meeting with the Business Association yesterday that seemed to go well. That's primarily us giving them information, which is fine. They talked about the association a little bit too. But that way, whatever information they can get from us and our staff goes out to the public, to the businesses and their membership and their board. So that's always beneficial to educate. I see in the Senate, you might remember that you were sworn in on November 20th. It's been recommended that that become December 1st going forward. So it's in the Senate, it's been passed. She's got to go to the House next. So that could change for anybody who's gonna re-up in 4 years. Not like it's critical by design, I tell you. I also went to, when Linda was there, at the County Township Association dinner. It was really good. You missed a good dinner, right?
Yeah? Mm-hmm.
We all left very full.
Prime rib again?
No, it was Italian.
Oh,
Yeah, and green beans and some kind of a fancy dessert. And it was good, very good. Garlic bread.
So we're hoping for a better showing from our board next
Yeah,
year.
it'd be nice.
I've made
It
most
was
of those.
Michigami.
They are a good time, they really
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And nice prizes. John gave me a bunch of stuff, so rather than have one big one, I broke it up into 4 different ones, and then I had some stuff that I threw in a bag, and just to have a nice, they draw numbers and give prizes, so it's a nice evening. They had
Mhm.
music. So that was fun. Roger mentioned Renabari. I checked with the Brownfield Authority meeting. I zipped in on that Zoom, and because Renabari had 4 items on their agenda, and they did not come or Zoom in. So there was no action taken or anything like that. And they did talk at length about developers who are coming to the authority and how does the authority get the fees? When do they ask for them? Because sometimes they don't pay when they're supposed to. So they talked about that quite a bit. So they're going to have a plan going forward to get the money when they sign the agreement with the developer to get whatever fees that they have to charge. Last night's county board meeting, I highlighted one thing on my notes, because I had mentioned to you about the 22 autopsy reports, if you remember, that we were having trouble getting from the, what's it called?
Medical
Doctor?
medical
Yeah,
examiner.
Thank you. The chair of the county commission and the undersheriff went down to Saginaw to their office. It took them 2 days. I'm guessing they stayed overnight. And were able to recover 18 reports. So they still need 11 more autopsy reports, but they were able to get information from 18, that they could bring back to the county clerk so she could file the death certificates. So you might also remember, I'm pretty sure I said Dickinson County, I didn't write it down again, but that's who we've contracted with now. So hopefully that won't be a problem going forward. And then they, paid bills, and they did get a couple grants, which was great. They're always working at the airport. So county meeting, and as John mentioned, we're gonna, Carl Bonack, I had set up a meeting for John and me to talk to him at least, and, board members if it could happen. And then the County Township did it at the same time, so our wires got crossed and the times got switched. And it just so happened the supervisor mentioned it to me, and I said, no, we're meeting with them. So anyway, we ended up meeting together. So a few of us went up and got a chance to visit with Carl. And in some of the discussion, I wanted to talk about 2 or 3 different things, some infrastructure and Forestville, and can't even think what the third thing was. But everybody else covered that, and then I kind of beat on him about Forestville Road and how we're trying to get some kind of funding to fix that if it needs to be fixed. So Carl, the road commission actually, the chair was in the back, and Carl said, could you and I meet with the road commission? And I said, absolutely, let's talk. So John and I are going to meet with the road commission director and his engineer next week, no, June, I forget the date, but it's next month, for an hour or 2, and see if we can, at least when an appropriation comes up, he's aware anyway, and we can get some more information from the road commission on exactly what the intersection needs. And maybe they have a recommendation yet, besides the bypass. We know that we already talked about the bypass, but we're still working on it. That's the point I wanted to make anyway. We did a civic clerk Zoom, so Randy and I got a chance to talk to the developers. They were nice enough to reach out and say, how's the software going for your packets and your minutes, so that was good. we gave them a couple of suggestions. I did an MDOT Zoom, and they have a couple projects you would be interested in maybe. This year, you might notice if you've been down to South Marquette, right at the kiln, they're gonna make that a carpool lot. If you've been down that way at all. Excuse me, it's blocked off now, and it says June 19th or something that it'll be ready. But that's $115,000 that's gonna, dollars to refix that. And then they're doing, you might be out M28 and 41 to the Alger County line. They're gonna do a project there, or probably already started it, I haven't been out that way. That's a $2.8 million project. And then US 41 to West 94 is a crescent shape, so that's farther south. That's a $5 million project. And then closer, the roundabout that people have been talking about, this says 2026 from M35 to County Road 480 at 492. And originally, he said it would be 2030 before that roundabout would be done. But now it's on their schedule for next year. That's a $7 million project. And they're going to remove the old bridge at the Carp River on US 41 in 2027. So I thought that was just kind of interesting because nobody knows until this stuff happens that it's going to happen. So I just wanted to kind of share with you guys what they were working on. The summit I told you about, that was pretty interesting. A diverse group talking about trails, and they didn't really talk about all the outdoor stuff like skiing or fishing or hunting or anything. They talked about hunting just briefly, but it was mostly backpacking, and it was still pretty interesting, the group that was there. It's probably 100 and some people. Housing Now is going to be here tomorrow. If you remember, that was the group that we contributed a couple $1,000s to try to figure out the housing status in the county. And it evolved into Housing Now, that's its own nonprofit entity that's under the auspices of the partnership and Invest UP. And they're bringing a speaker up tomorrow. So that should be interesting to hear what other communities are doing about housing. I did talk to a realtor in April, and I was told that all of the homes in Marquette County at that time that were on the market had some kind of activity on them. They had a purchase agreement, or they were pending, or waiting for a signature or something. Every single home that was on the market. So I called her back today and I said, there are 5 homes from the roundabout up Grove Street to 553. What's the status of those and what's happening in the community? And she said, every home in the county has some kind of a purchase agreement or pending. There are no open homes. She said, yeah, I said, you know, people catch me at meetings and they say, what are you doing about housing? And I say, government doesn't do housing. That's not our job. And I was telling her that, and she said, yes, they have to understand that this is supply and demand. That if there's a shortage of homes, people can charge whatever they want for their homes. If it's a $300,000 home and they want to charge $500,000 and they can get it, that's up to them. That doesn't have anything to do with government, and so many people don't understand that. They think it's us, that we should be building homes or we should be controlling the prices. So anyway, she did clarify that again and say, yes, every home in the county has something on it. She said typically it's 2 days. When a house comes up on the market, in 2 days they have at least 2 offers. In most cases, within 2 weeks, they're gone. They're gobbled up. So what we're contributing, you know, from the development or the planning side, that's what we can do. So that's what we're doing. There's a ribbon cutting tomorrow at the Veterans Facility that they're going to be opening.
Friday.
Oh yeah, tomorrow's Thursday, sorry. Thank you. It is by invitation. I'm going to welcome everybody, and you know, if the board's welcome to come and staff. I did get that clarified because it was by invitation, but it's exciting. They'll start probably like Monday, I'm guessing, doing something out there to get their building going.
Time?
9:30. 9:30.
9:30. Just a couple more things, then I'll let you guys go. May 29th, if you want to go to the landfill. We talked about this a little bit too at the Business Association meeting. It's an open meeting. The group that is trying to work with the state, 6 counties in the central UP to figure out waste management and recycling and who needs what and where can we ship this or how can we sell that. Our 6 counties have been meeting in Escanaba. I've been giving reports to here and to the county. And we're meeting at the landfill on May 29th at 1 o'clock. Our meeting will be there. We're going to do a tour of the facility, see how the recycling system works. It's all belts and pulleys, and you're up on scaffolding practically, and it's quite an ordeal. I've been through there once already, but it's open. It's an open meeting. You're welcome to come and see. You need to bring some good shoes and maybe if we're walking outside, some decent clothes. It could be snowing. So put that on your list if you want. And then from there, we're going to go to Partridge Creek if we want to. That's not part of our agenda, but we can see what they're doing with composting. So that'll be kind of interesting.
Can you say the day and the time again?
May 29th, 1 o'clock at the landfill.
Thank you.
And then the last thing, I was at the grandson's program this morning and a woman came up to me and asked if I would ask the board and staff if we could do something with signage on the trails so that the mountain bikers know that the trails are for the people too. And she was kind of yelling over the seat, you know, where we were sitting, but she saw me and was trying to explain to me what was going on. So we had to stop because the program was going to start. So I'm not sure if it was an NTN trail, if this is a lorry issue, or she said yesterday she was in Nagami, but she was also on the Heritage Trail. So I said, I'm going to bring it to the board. You know, we can do signage until we're blue in the face, but unless people read it. But she said she had a gentleman come up to her, she's elderly. She was walking and he said, "This is my bike trail and you need to get off of it." So I said, I will be happy to tell the board what you experienced. And she lives in the township. She's one of our residents. So I promised her I would share that with you. So as we go forward, I guess, on trails, you know, John with the trailhead and stuff, keep that in the back of our minds if we do new signage or, I don't know how we can help.
We need to spend so much money on signs,
I know,
nobody's
right?
going to read one of them.
I know. That's what I told her.
Unfortunately, you're talking 1% of the users making problems for everybody.
You know?
We don't need that type of attitude from any type of user, unfortunately. And I don't know what kind of person still thinks that that's appropriate, but I would ask that person to kindly quit using the trail system until they learn how to behave like adult. I mean, it's silly behavior.
She didn't say if it was an older person or a kid or, you know, college or whatever, I don't know, but I told her,
Well,
she's, will you tell? She
Those
was pointing her finger,
interactions,
"Will you tell your
unfortunately,
board?"
you're never going to reach the person that caused the problem in the first place because there's no documentation other than the experience.
Mhm.
And it's very unfortunate because it puts that perception on every user, and that's not the case.
So I promise I'd pass it on. That's all I have. That's a lot. That's more than I usually have. So let's get into poverty exemption. I need to explain this. You might remember me telling you that we were due for our AMAR audit, which is our audit of minimum assessing requirements for the assessing department. And you might remember that we did, I think, 8 resolutions in preparation for that audit, showing the state that we were not only compliant, but following the regulations that they laid out on how to do poverty exemptions or any of the criteria for assessing for your taxes. So, believe it or not, we got marked off for this. Instead of 100%, which I think would be pretty amazing for any assessor to get, we got a 99, which is still outstanding in my mind, because this is a 5-year process. And I think our assessing department did an excellent job of having it put together. But there's one small line of about 3 or 4 words that were not included in the language of the resolution. So I'm asking that we amend it, which means we actually have to do a whole new resolution, right?
You're just
I mean, it's
gonna,
not an amendment?
no, you're gonna replace existing
Okay.
one.
Okay, that's better terminology. So we're gonna replace 10-16-24-7, because this was number 7 of 8, and make it, what did I say? It'll have today's date, just to add that new, and I did hand that out to you, because I put that together Friday.
I would make the motion that we would do the updated resolution of 052125 to replace the 101624-7.
Support.
Okay, motion and support. Questions for me? Because those is kind of different. So you can see that the vehicle was the issue. It has to say, meet additional eligibility requirements as determined by the township board, including assets, but excluding the original homestead and 1 registered vehicle per adult occupant. And that shall not exceed 4,000 for individual applicants and or 6,000 per household if more than 1 financial contributor. So that's all we're changing. Any other questions? Clerk, can we do a roll call, please?
Trustee Kidda?
Yes.
Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee Winslow?
Yes.
Trustee Leighton?
Yes.
Trustee Everson?
Yes.
Treasurer Rickauer?
Yes.
And Supervisor Durant.
Yes.
That motion carries 7-0.
So our assessor will send that document to state, and it doesn't do anything to the score of 99, but they'll know we're in compliance. And we'll be covered. Okay, consider the second reading of amendments to the animal control ordinance. This fall to either or both of you.
I can start. The attorney might have to finish because there is legalese involved. 3 sections of the ordinance are being proposed for revision. This is the second reading, so you all should hopefully remember from 2 weeks ago what those revisions entail. But the sections relate to farming, making sure that we comply with the Right to Farm Act, control of dogs, so that our ordinance matches state law, meaning all dogs must be properly held in leash, if I have the language correct from the state law. The or otherwise under control portion of the ordinance goes away. And that's the subjective part, because what one person thinks is under control is certainly not the case for other people. A friendly dog jumping on me, licking my face, not being a dog person probably doesn't mean the owner has the dog under control, right? Or the dog being out of sight. So anyway, and then the third portion is the fees. The maximum we can charge is $500 per violation by state law, correct?
Correct.
But we have a incremental increase per violation. $150 would be the first violation, $250 for the second, $350 for the fourth, third, $450 for the fourth and subsequent, a maximum fine of $500, which is the limit that we can assess. This would be a local civil infraction, which the Sheriff's Department will be able to issue citations on. We just got to give them a stack of ticket books, which, by the way, our staff planner has available. So all we got to do is get them to throw in the Tahoe. And that's really it, and I'll let the attorney add anything that he feels is necessary to keep me in line.
Well, we discussed it at the first meeting, at the last meeting, and there are very limited amendments to the ordinance. The ordinance will remain in effect in all other respects. So unless there are any questions, I really have nothing additional to add.
Dan?
Will a ticket automatically be issued if he were to come in contact with a person and their dog is 25 yards ahead of him? Is that an automatic citation?
I think according to the ordinance, probably, but I would urge officer discretion in the situation. If it's somebody that simply didn't know that we changed our ordinance and says, I'll comply immediately, the officer might look the other way. But that's not up to me to decide. Once we give the sheriff's department the green light under this revised ordinance, we have to let them do their job.
Just like any other violation that they are witnessing?
Correct.
It's their discretion then?
Yeah, and I don't think anyone here ever intended to start writing tickets and punishing people with fines and that kind of thing. We just want compliance to minimize risk.
Correct.
That's my opinion anyway.
I would move that we approve the second reading of the amendments to the animal control ordinance.
I'll support that.
Okay, any more questions, comments? Does this need a roll call?
Okay, so roll call vote on the second reading of the amendments to the animal control ordinance. Trustee Kidda.
Yes.
Trustee Everson.
Yes?
Trustee Winslow.
Yes.
Trustee Layton.
Yes.
Treasurer Rickower.
Yes.
Clerk Rattari is yes, and Supervisor Durant.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, no more business, that's good.
So is there a way that we can provide some education to our public, our community, through the wonderful TV station, but also on the back of our water bill? Yeah, I mean, I think, I think there's a group of people that already know this is gonna happen, but then there's a larger group that have no idea, like none, like their animals are still, and they don't know it's a problem. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually sat next to a lady at that outdoor conference from Marquette here. She was talking about, they were talking about something else, and she said, well, when I was running my dog on the well road, and I looked at her, I said, on a leash? And she goes, no, I don't have a leash. Do you know that that's a state law? And she goes, no. So yeah, you're right. A lot of people that wouldn't have a clue.
And I just want to add real quick that part of the education is they should be on a leash in all areas. Because I've had some comments when I've been out there that once they're past the gate, they can take them off the leash. And the regular users, some of them believe that it's just because of the accident that happened. And after the gate, it's a dog park.
That's good to
So-
know.
The interesting thing about this is NTN came to us with some significant skin in the game, right? Significant contribution to our recreational resources. First of all, they built all the single track trails out there, but they're also building additional trails to minimize these conflicts, despite the fact that we still need the dogs on a leash. I mean, they're building a dog walking loop, specific loop for dog walking, so they don't have to be on the well road or on the mountain bike trails. And I'm using air quotes because all non-motorized use is permitted on these NTN trails, except for horseback riding. And part of that is because of the way NTN limits use on the trails, not the township. So anyway, we can put signs all the way up and down the well road, but they don't read the first one. Or if they read it, they don't follow it. So I will say though, the amount of incidents that we experienced last fall have decreased significantly recently. I don't go out there in the evenings like I do during the day, but I feel like maybe some of these dog walkers have found different places to go that don't enforce off-leash activity. That's none of our business until it becomes our business, I guess, but if it's not on township property, it's not necessarily going to be something that we deal with here, so. Anyway,
Any other questions?
did I get my point across there? I forget where I started. This just becomes such a big issue when it doesn't need to be.
Well, educating, that's what Linda was trying to
Yeah.
say. We gotta make sure people know as much.
No.
as
Yeah,
they can.
and it's not that we haven't been trying to. We'll do our best to get something that provides an update on maybe the next calendar if it's not already spoken for.
Okay.
Next steps, we have to publish it and then 30 days after it's in effect.
Hmm.
Correct? Roger?
That's correct.
That might line up with the calendar too then, if the next one's taken.
Yeah, better.
Does Lenny wanna say something? Do you know, John, or did he just?
You popped in. Do you have anything to say, Lenny? We skipped by your report, but you had your written report, but I guess if you have anything to add to it.
No, I don't. I apologize. I had some difficulties there, and all of a sudden I got on late here. So, but no, I don't have anything to add unless you guys have some questions for me.
You kind of gave the Business Association an update on what you were working on yesterday, so that was good. They had some good questions for you.
Yep. I mean, basically, just we're doing our summer work here, going through hydrants, which a couple Dan and I've seen the firsthand what was happening there, why we do some of the inspections, and we found one that didn't work, and we had to get it fixed. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get that one fixed. But so yeah, just that we're doing our normal summertime maintenance and checks on both water and wastewater.
And we sold the truck, right, Lenny?
Yep, we sold the truck. We actually sold the truck more for the minimum bid, which was really good, and we're still kind of keeping our fingers crossed with the Zamboni. I have that listed in Minneapolis and some of the bigger cities, and hopefully we'll find somebody that is mechanically handy and can maybe replace the motor or repair the motor and maybe use it, for their backyard rink or whatever they want. I'm hoping that we don't have to scrap it, so I'm going to, if it doesn't, we don't get any bids by this Friday, I think I'm going to put it up for another few weeks and see if we can advertise in some more places around the Midwest here.
I see road restrictions lifted today. Does that mean you can kind of go over to the Starbucks Road and give it a once-over and fill in some holes?
Yeah, definitely we can. I think some of them went last week, and I think the rest of them are probably today. But yeah, we can definitely get over there and get that. That's on our list to do. It might be actually a good job for the little tractor here too when it gets delivered. We're hoping to get that delivered either this week or next week, so maybe we can try it out and see how it works there.
Okay. And I guess you had a good first Wednesday, you said in your report?
Yes, so the first Wednesday of April was kind of light just because the weather wasn't very nice, so we hardly used any dumpsters at all. And this one was very heavy, right from the beginning to the end. They were very busy, which was good, but not so busy that it was overwhelming to them. So we're anticipating that it's going to be heavily used here throughout the summertime, but it seems to be working good with the limits that we have and the amount of dumpsters that we're allocating. And everybody's just has it down pat. They know how many times they can bring stuff there and how much they can bring, and everybody's been pleasant and everything's been working really good.
Good deal. And residents can bring their glass up. There's a whole big dumpster just for glass. So
Yep,
that's
and actually glass is all year. So
Yes.
even on the non-first Wednesday months, they just have to stop there and let them know that they're dumping off glass for glass for Marquette Township, and they can bring it in there.
Yep, they'll take you around the back and open up the door and you can drop it off.
Yep.
And the landfill wants the glass. They're trying to figure out what to do with it. So they need samples, they need quantity. So keep
Yep.
your jars and wine bottles.
Can you smash them?
But other than that, we've been staying busy, and we're we're staying busy, just keeping everything going, keeping everything running, and just trying to head off problems before they become a problem. And like I said, the hydrant checks caught a hydrant that was broke, and we would rather catch the hydrant that is broke versus the fire department catching it when they need it. So it is actually we're doing what we need to do, and we're making sure that everything's going to work as it should.
And I went over to Lions Field and drove by. It looks beautiful. That right field is nice and straight. There used to be a divot in there, you know, or kind of a slope. The grass looks great.
Yep.
You guys did a great job.
Yeah, with the training that we sent Amanda to, the online training, and some of the stuff that she's learned is really starting to pay dividends. We actually went for a ride there today, and I was very impressed at how green the grass was and how good it's looking. It's still coming. It's not perfect, but I think we're well on our way to making it a very, very nice field.
Good deal.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Dan?
I just want to thank Lenny and his crew firsthand for the work they did fixing that hydrant up on Orchard Street. They were here first thing this morning and stayed right until the end and got it done and did a very nice job. The road looks great. They cleaned it up. Nice to have my water back.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Any questions for Lenny? Okay, thanks for zooming in.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, I don't know if we have any committee updates. Rec probably hasn't met yet.
They have not.
They're kind of
They
waiting.
they were canceled.
Yeah, okay. Any public comment? Anybody want to share anything? Okay, any announcements from anybody? Randy's got one.
Yeah, I was at a wastewater administrators conference last week, and the benefit for the township for that was we got updated rules on our operators. Our collection system are going to have to be certified by the state moving forward. This is a new requirement, and so it's coming. It's not going to be in force quite yet, but I'm assuming within next year it's going to be. So more certification for our operators on top of what they already have. So they're going to start with the outlying communities that contribute to a system first, and then like we'll be the first, and then a city will be next. But I think you're going to be classified on how many connections you have. So we're going to be one of the lower end, but more certification and more training for our service workers. So just so the board knows that when budgets come due, we're going to have to put more money in there for training for them. So
For next year, maybe? When it's-
possibly next year, yeah. And they're going to give folks a grace period, but it's going to, when it starts starting, then they're going to have to test and everything also. But we're going to be, I think, a C3 out of a 1 through 4 system. C4 will be the lowest, C1, but we'll be a C3 because we have, I think, over 1,000 connections. So
I'm sure you stopped in Lenny's office and told him.
yes, he knows it's coming. John knows it's coming. So
Really? Okay, well, people will be really smart then.
We've been aware of this for probably a couple of years, but it's kind of been a lot of hurry up and wait.
Okay.
It's nice to get an update, though. That was actually one of the things that I hoped we would get an update on in that conference. So thank you, Clerk Rattari.
Okay. Any other announcements? All right, manager, what can you tell us?
Nothing else to add about dogs. Personnel Committee met this afternoon, and we'll have a couple of recommendations for you at the first meeting in June. Also, our Michelle has been working on updating some sections of the personnel policies that we will bring to you hopefully at the same time. We had been waiting on a response back about our Earned Sick Time Act policy, but we're pretty comfortable with it for now. If we have to change it because we got something wrong, then we'll do that at a later date, but we just need to get it official. I also found out on Monday, I attended the MTA's quarterly manager superintendent meeting, and it sounds like they're possibly changing the rules on Earned Sick Time Act as well, so specifically for paid on-call firefighters. So I guess we'll see what happens there. And if that applies to firefighters, what about EMTs? That'll probably be the next issue. We'll deal with it as it comes.
Any questions for John? Okay. Well, we got a few motions, Randy.
I guess I had one question. I don't want to lose sight of and I know your take on signs lately, but we got to remember to possibly do something, or maybe you have done something for the deer crossing signs, John? Has Lenny or anybody?
Lenny has, we're just waiting for the road commission to install them and then they'll bill us.
Oh, okay. I just wanted, so the public.
Yeah, the locations have been determined for the most part.
Okay.
They will choose the exact location based on their manual of uniform traffic control devices relative to location or proximity to intersections, I think. But we are not painting a crosswalk for the deer.
If we can just get the deer to use where the signs are, we'll be all right.
We gotta let them know. We'll put it in the newsletter. Dear, dear.
So we have them coming for Werner Street and Grove Street.
Thanks, Lenny.
Yep.
Good. Any other questions for John?
But if we let the dogs run off leash again, maybe there wouldn't be any deer to worry about.
Gosh, don't start that. Okay, motions.
Okay, the first motion was to consent agenda as presented, and that was approved. The second motion was to approve the regular agenda as presented, and that was approved. The third motion was to approve approve the revised resolution of 10/16/24-7, and that was approved. And the fourth motion was to approve the second reading of the amendments to the animal control ordinance, and that was approved.
Okay. So for right now, I don't have anything for the agenda. I'm sure we'll find something for June 4th. That's the next one. Board member comments? Andy?
So I spoke with a gentleman last night. He lives by the Rose's dugout to the west, and he was quietly complaining about the road and the heaved culvert across the street. I told him, that's not really the township's responsibility, that's the road commission's. And he said, basically, the road commission says it's the township. So I tried to say, absolutely not, but I didn't want to have an argument. So I'll talk to Lenny and John about it, but I'm assuming it's a road commission deal because I know we don't usually put culverts in on the roads. They usually do that, so.
There were a few culverts installed as part of the maintenance project that was done with the millage. So I'm thinking that's probably what's happening. If we pay for it, we own it. Maybe we should quit paying for their stuff.
Yes, yes.
If
Good
that has to be
idea.
the solution.
Good idea.
But
Maybe
I'll,
that's probably a little tongue-in-cheek, but we can't keep sending people back and forth when we clearly do not own the roadway infrastructure. We're just subsidizing it.
yeah, so I told him, I said, you should actually, if they're saying that, go to the road commission themselves. And if they blame the township, then they need to let the township know because absolutely not are we responsible for that. So.
Okay. Any other comments?
I do.
Sure, Linda.
So, Community Day is August 2nd, Saturday. So we'll need a road closure. Okay, and we'll need the board to waive the beverage thing before August 2nd,
Okay.
right? Okay, so you guys can put that on your radar. And I did have the opportunity, and some of the other planning commissioners did today too, go to a presentation called Don't Get Bogged Down, How Local Governments Can Protect Wetlands. It was very informational, so you may see the planning commission addressing that issue, and it may already be addressed in our master plan. So we'll kind of look at that. So yeah, that was interesting.
One more thing I could share, the Solid Waste Authority meeting right before our meeting tonight. I pointed out, I thanked them for all of the microphones that they've installed, but anybody that doesn't have a microphone, I can't hear anything, like the attorney and the accountant. And of course, the Rep. Bonex, Aide was in the audience, and he got up and spoke, but I couldn't hear anything he said. So I don't even know what that was about. But anyway, I did let them know that. They also talked about people or communities bringing stuff into, they call it Recycle 906 at the landfill, the recycle side of it. And they talked at length about that. So when I did the public comment, I said, Mike, the director, and I are both on that 6-county consortium through QPAD to try to figure out what these 6 counties in the central UP need. So I said, before you start talking, they were talking about changing the articles of incorporation and everything. And I said, just wait until we figure out what the recommendation is from the state on how we can put this together. So I did let them know that. They also talked about fly ash, and apparently the Board of Light and Power made an offer to sell the fly ash to the authority at the landfill, and they talked at length about that. One of the Board of Light and Power board members is also on the authority, so I questioned his participation in the meeting and voting and abstaining, and I said, I'll leave that to your attorney to tell, but I don't know how the minutes are gonna go. But, so, they've been offered 1.7 million for 80,000 tons of fly ash, but they can't make an offer or even a counter offer because they don't know if they can accept the fly ash because it hasn't been proven to be safe. So apparently there's a test that BLP has to do to the ash to tell whether or not we can put it in the landfill or if it has to be shipped somewhere else. But they don't want to do the test until they know the landfill will take it. So they're kind of, the attorney said it was kind of chicken and the egg thing. So they're going to work it out, go back to the BLP, the chair's going to go talk to them and find out. Because they can use, the other thing was they were going to charge them $20 a ton to bring it in there. That's what it ended up working out, I guess, when they figured the 1.7 million. But our tipping fees are going up to like $85 a ton, literally $85.79 or whatever the number was. So I said, I could see that being maybe half, because if it's ash that we can use, and they're allowed to put so many inches of ash in the landfill to do the layers, maybe split the difference with them and maybe $40-some a ton, but not 20, when we're paying more, you know. So those were my public comments to the authority, and they thanked me. They were very gracious, but I don't know if they'll listen, if it makes a difference. So that's all extra that I had to share. What else? Anybody else have anything? June 4th, we talked about doing the board picture. Let me know if that's going to work. And, you don't have to wear a suit or anything, but put on your church clothes maybe or something.
I just bought a new suit.
Oh, well, put that on. We've had members wear suits. Wear whatever you want. Something nice, because we're immortalized.
You just wait and see.
So let's make, for right now, Jason's going to be here to do it. So if it doesn't work out, let me know, okay?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourned. 6:49.
NTN, own the pump track.